And once again, namaste, all of you who are joining online. It's a joy to be with all of you sharing this morning. And my name is Brahmachari Gaurav, and I'm here in our Ananda Center in New Delhi. And it's lovely to see you all this morning on Sunday. So we have a very beautiful topic this morning that we will be talking about, and I'll share a few thoughts on it. And this is the blessings of an avatar. And friends, we may know this, but Swami Kriyananda often said that an avatar is actually one who is different from a ordinary saint. Not to say that a saint is ordinary in any way. A saint himself or herself is very, very great because he has the power to draw other people to God, to uplift us, to inspire us. But Swami Kriyanandaji said that one who is an avatar, as they say, that an avatar is a descent into divinity, that God himself incarnates as an avatar when the need among mankind is very, very strong. And in that sense, an avatar, yes, is a guru. As we know that we have these five avatars in our lineage, starting with Jesus Christ, Babaji, who was Lord Krishna, um, Swami Sri Yukteswarji, Lahiri Mahashaya, and of course Paramhansa Yogananda. And these are avatars, and yes, they are perhaps our gurus also. But really, it's good to remind ourselves and to remember that they are not just our gurus, but really an avatar, as opposed to a saint, comes really on a planet in this world to not just uplift a few of his disciples, his own children, but really to uplift all of humanity. And I was thinking just before this satsang that, we have five avatars in at this point of time in our lineage. And really, that is not something which is very common to have one avatar, yes, perhaps like Krishna who incarnates, who plays his Leela and then departs, to have someone like a Buddha who comes, yes. But to have five avatars incarnating at the same time, it is significant. And I think it's an indication that this is a special time. We may look around us in the world and think that it is anything but special the way the world is going. You watch the news and everything that's happening in the world, and you feel disheartened. You feel like there is no hope. But I would say, let's take hope from this fact that there are five avatars who have descended, chosen to descend at exactly this point in time. And that should give us meaning. That should give us hope that things are not getting worse as they sometimes appear to be, but these great ones came together because this is a very, very important time for the world, but for each one of us individually. I was thinking, at least to my knowledge, the last time this happened, and of course, we know so little about these matters, anyways. But I was thinking the last time something like this happened, where so many avatars came at one time, was really around the birth of Jesus Christ. Because Paramahansa Yogananda ji told Swami Kriyananda ji that he said that the three wise men, we hear the story of Christ, and that when he was born, three wise men came from the east to pay their homage, to visit the baby child, Christ. And he said the three wise men, in fact, were Mahavatar Babaji, Swami Sri Yukteswar, and Lahiri Mahashaya. And really, it's very, very fascinating. These are our gurus, but really, rather than saying these are our gurus and they were back then, these are great souls, these are great avatars who play these roles and come again and again when there is a great need. And so they're neither Hindu, nor are they Christian, nor are they, Muslims. They are just the incarnation of the divine, and they come to serve a role, like I said. And so the three of them, the three wise men being three of these great avatars, and like Swami Kriyananda would often think, that he suspected Paramhansa Yogananda ji was also Jesus Christ. That makes it four. And I think Babaji was Krishna. So just to say that so many of them came also at that time, which is again to say there must have been a great need at that time for the world, and that is why they came in at that time. And so it is just to say, I thought I would mention this just to remind perhaps those of us who are connected with this line of gurus in this lifetime, who have the fortune, who have the blessing to receive their teachings, to practice their teachings, really, whether or not we are yet their disciples formally, we have taken them as our gurus, still, it does not matter because, an avatar is like the sun, and the sun is every morning, the sun shows up at dawn and it stays till dusk. And the sun is not partial. The sun does not say that, okay, I'm going to come up in the sky, but I'm going to shine some extra light over Chennai, but today I don't feel like sharing so much sunlight over Pune. It doesn't work like that. We know the sun is completely impartial, and the sun is open to whoever wants to benefit from its rays, from its light, from its radiance. And so an avatar is really like a sun, whose effulgence is so great, and he comes to this world to bless as many people, really, whether or not they are his disciples. He comes to bless, to help as many people who have the capacity to receive his help, And so that is why I just feel so good about the fact that not only do we have gurus like Yogananda ji, like Mahavatar Babaji, Lahiri Mahashay, that yes, they are my gurus, they are your gurus, perhaps. They are our gurus, but really, they have a huge, vast world mission. And on one level, really, it wouldn't be wrong to say that they are a guru for everyone. Of course, not in a personal sense, unless people choose them. And the saints, the avatars, never want disciples, they never impose themselves on other people. But Swami Kriyananda would often say that he believed that by the end of this yoga, we are in Dwapara Yoga, he believed that Paramahansa Yogananda would be recognized as the guru for Dwapara Yoga. And we sometimes think, really, is that true? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, doesn't really matter on one level. But this is just the beginning years, the beginning, not even centuries, the beginning decades since these great avatars came. Maybe 200 years have passed, since Lahiri Mahasaya met Mahavatar Babaji. And so it is very, very early. Many people don't even know their names or when they came, what their teachings are, which is all fine. But it is a very heartening thought. And again, Mahavatar Babaji he said that Kriya Yoga will ultimately spread in all lands. So again, we see the world around us and we think, men are interested in anything else but God, anything else but Kriya Yoga, but he had predicted that the time will come that when it will ultimately spread to all lands. And we see some of that happening right now. I was remembering this story of Mahavatar Babaji, just to again reflect how these same souls, these avatars, all of these great ones who take different forms, different bodies, they come into the world at different times. And we know Babaji was Krishna, but there is a story that when Swami Shankaracharya, who was a great, great soul and started the Swami order as we know it, when he was in India many centuries ago and when he was touring the country, at one point, he was living in Banaras, he was living in Kashi. And interestingly, at that point of time, Mahavatar Babaji was also living there in Banaras. And this is a story that was told by Yogananda ji to Swami Kriyananda. And there was a servant, Mahavatar Babaji, when he was living in Banaras, he had a servant, Man Friday, who would take care of whatever his Babaji's needs were. And one day, when his servant heard that Swami Shankaracharya was visiting Banaras, was in Banaras, he decided to go to him, his servant, because Swami Shankaracharya was also known as a very renowned astrologer, that his predictions would always come true. And so this servant of Babaji went to Shankaracharya's home. And when Shankaracharya saw him and perhaps read his horoscope, he said that, you have very complex karma, and unfortunately, a great calamity is going to come upon you, and that you are going to, in fact, die tonight. That today is the day, this evening, when you are going to pass away from this world. And this servant of Babaji was so frightened that he quickly ran back home to Mahavtar Babaji, and he said, "Sir, I met this person, Swami Shankara, who's an astrologer, and he told me I will die." And Babaji looked at him and he said, "You will not die." And he said, "Go back and tell him that you are not going to die tonight." So the servant, he again goes back to Swami Shankaracharya's home and he says, "My master tells me, my guru tells me that I am not going to die tonight." And Shankaracharya, who was himself a master actually, who was a great, great soul, he again looked at this man's horoscope and he said, "I refuse to believe it." He said, "Your chart is so fixed that you must die tonight, owing to some calamity." And he added, he said, "If you by any chance survive, then I myself will come to your master and ask him to make me a disciple." And so the servant went back, and that night in Banaras, a great, great storm, thunderstorm came, lightning was everywhere, and it struck many houses, many buildings. And Babaji, in the house, in his house, he basically, his servant was on the floor, and Babaji really spread his whole body over his servant to protect him. And the lightning struck the house, it uprooted trees, it shook the entire house. But when morning came, the servant was alive. And he went back to Swami Shankaracharya, and Swami Shankaracharya was aghast. He was very, very surprised. And like he said, he came to Babaji and he asked him to make him a disciple. He asked for initiation from Mahavtar Babaji. Now, this is a very, very sweet story. I was thinking because not only do these masters, do these great ones have a world mission, like I was saying, to uplift the entire planet through the different ages, but they are also very, very personally there for you and me. I mean, to save one soul, his servant, Babaji went to those lengths. And this is a very relatively unknown story about Babaji, which Yogananda ji shared. But really, we have the same blessings, we have the same opportunity, you and I, to draw on the grace of these great masters. And it really begins with our attunement. And every single day, spending time with the gurus, whether it's in our meditation in the morning, in the evening, or throughout the day, taking the time, as we were reading in this affirmation, to mentally call on God, share your idealist fancies, share your worries, share your thoughts with Him, perhaps for minutes first, then for hours. And then Swami says all the time, till you are always, no matter what is happening outside, you are always having a conversation with God. And that is very, very important if we want to feel tangibly, not just in a non-specific way, if we want to tangibly feel the blessings of these great gurus. There is a story of Yogananda ji Master that, he had a nephew who was also his disciple, and his name was Hare Krishna Ghosh. And Hare Krishna Ghosh recounted this story much later, many decades later, to Swami Kriyananda when he was in his 70s. But he said that when Yogananda ji came back to India in 1935, he was here for a year visiting from America. Hare Krishna Ghosh said that I was a young boy at that time, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years. I don't remember exactly. But he said one day we had a gathering in a guest's house. So of course Yogananda ji was invited, but Hare Krishna, who was his young nephew, he was also asked, go along with master. So on they went, and I believe it was some house in Serampore near Kolkata where this guest or relative had his home, and they were all invited for lunch. And they were seated on the floor, just in a row, one next to the other. And Hare Krishna said that Yogananda ji was sitting next to him, and he was seated to Yogananda ji's right. And and they all had food on their plates, and there were many people in the room. And Hare Krishna was busy talking, to people. There was a man or a relative or a disciple on his right, so he was talking to him. And then he looked down at his plate and he saw some food was missing. So I think maybe it was his favorite sweet, or some vegetable that he really liked. A little portion of that was missing, and he was like, what happened? But he looked to the left to Yogananda ji, but Yogananda ji was very normally, just eating his food and talking to other people. And then again, Hare Krishna, he got busy and he started talking to this person or people on his right again. And then he looked down to his plate to take another bite, and he discovered another piece of food was missing from there. And, it just, again, he looked at Yogananda ji on his left, and he was like, what's happening? But Yogananda ji, he showed no signs. He was not doing anything. And finally, Hare Krishna, I think, did it one more time. He started talking with the others. And when he looked down at his plate, again, something was missing, and maybe it was really his favorite thing right now. And he looked to his left to Yogananda ji, and Yogananda ji was smiling. And he just said one thing to him. He said, Hare Krishna, you're speaking a lot with others. And Hare Krishna took that to mean that his guru was saying, talk to me also, which is to say, it was a hint that spend time with me, don't. And I just take it as a message from all of us, really. We have such busy lives, that so often we just get preoccupied with worries and things that we think are important, we must do in our day. Without it, we just cannot live. We have to answer all our communication and calls and messages and do all these things. And really, if we are wise disciples, we will realize that yes, we are doing everything out in the world, but it is supremely important for us to talk to the Guru. And even if necessary, at the expense of talking to others around us in this world. Because, people will come and go, relatives will come and go, friends will come and go. But like I said, the Guru follows us lifetime after lifetime, just in the hope that we may listen to him, talk to him, invite his presence, invite his guidance in our lives, in our hearts. And so let's just, especially at this time we are celebrating Janmashtami, let's resolve inwardly more and more to remind ourselves, I'm going to be more with you. Look at a picture of the Guru and make that pledge today. I'm going to be more with you. I'll spend more time with you. Who do we spend time with? With our loved ones, with our family. But let's make this pledge. I am going to start spending more time with you. You have come on this planet just for my sake, and I am going to return the favor. It's not really a favor, it's all in our favor. But that is the relationship between the disciple and the Guru. And really, in India, we know the word for disciple is Chela. And Chela, Swami would say, just means child. So we are just children. Like Hare Krishna, we are just the Guru's child. And we are sitting next to him and he wants to talk to us. He says, share with me everything, and don't be so worried about other things or preoccupied. And so let's, like I said, resolve inwardly to make that effort, to spend time more and more with the Guru. Yes, serving the Guru. in whatever way we can, because we are really not just serving our guru, we are serving God himself. Because like I said, an avatar is a full descent of divinity into a human body. And so, friends, let's just remember these things. And sometimes we think, and I'll end with this, we think it's hard, the spiritual path is hard, and it's so difficult for us to reach to God. But it isn't. In fact, Yogananda ji said, he said it's much harder for the saints, for the fully liberated beings to come down on earth. And he said, often when I know God tells me I am supposed to reincarnate in a human body and to play a certain role and take on a personality, he said it is like wearing a long, thick overcoat, like a sweater or layers of sweaters on a hot summer day. Which is to say, he said, it's very uncomfortable when I have to take a new body and come in this world and again take on that role and play that role. So, which is to say, it is very, very hard for them. Think how when you are children and let's say you have vacations, summer holidays, and you go to, let's say, your relative's place or a different city or a hill station, which you really, really want to go to and experience. And so you have such a nice time there. You spend a week or you spend a lot of days playing and visiting different places. And then what happens? The time comes for the last day of the vacation, and next morning is Monday morning, and we have to go to school. And I think no one, at least I didn't like that feeling. On that last day, you're like, oh no, 2 months have gone by, it's been delightful. But you just dread that Monday morning when you have to go back to school and start studying again and submit your homework. And really it's just like that, so we know that feeling of having something that we like, that we love, being taken away from us. And that is the sacrifice that the avatars make. I mean, multiply that feeling perhaps by, I don't know, 1,000 times, because they are in oneness with God. They are enjoying infinite bliss, eternal love all the time. And for them to say, I'm willing to give this up for some amount of time to go down to that school of life where other children are there and they're not having a good time, which is all of us. And let me go and help them. So it's a huge, huge sacrifice on their part also. And the least we can do, they ask for nothing else but our love. That we love them because that is the only thing that they want. Really, that is the only thing that is going to satisfy our hearts as well.